You ever meet someone who thinks they can get away with hurting the people you care about? Yeah, that was Jay. He thought he could push my friend, literally and emotionally, and walk away like nothing happened. So I made sure his entire college career, and maybe even his visa, went poof overnight. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Oh, absolutely. If you've ever wanted to see karma serve a nice hot plate of justice, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this story, it's about how one small act of revenge made a very big impact. This all went down back in the before times, when the internet still made those dial-up screeching sounds and social media wasn't a thing yet. I was a student at my local junior college, just a regular guy doing my best to keep grades up and save money. Halfway through the semester, I moved in with my girlfriend. Let's call her Lucy. We figured sharing rent would help us both out. It was a small apartment, but cozy. A beat-up couch, a coffee table that had seen better days, and a kitchen that smelled faintly of burnt pizza rolls. College life, you know? One night, Lucy says, "Hey, I invited a friend from class for game night." Sounded fun. We loved having people over. Board games, cheap snacks, laughter echoing off the walls. That's when I met Sarah. And surprise, she turned out to be someone I actually knew from high school. We weren't close, but we got along. She was easy to talk to, smart, had that kind of laugh that made a room warmer. After that night, she became a regular at our place. Dinners, movie nights, you name it. She even brought her boyfriend Jay a few times. Now, Jay. Jay was the kind of guy who made every room colder the second he walked in. You know that person who just doesn't want to be there but shows up anyway so he can scowl at everyone? That was him. He'd sit there in silence, arms crossed, face like someone stole his last slice of pizza, barely spoke, didn't laugh, didn't try. We only kept inviting him because of Sarah. She was happy when she was around friends, and we didn't want to make it awkward. Eventually, he stopped coming, thank God, and we all sort of breathed a collective sigh of relief. A few weeks later, on a random Thursday night, Lucy's phone rings. It's Sarah. And she's sobbing. Lucy gives me that look, the one that says something's really wrong, and tells Sarah to come over right away. When Sarah arrived, her face was blotchy, mascara smudged, hands shaking as she tried to tell us what happened. Turns out, Jay had completely lost it. He'd accused her of cheating. With who? She wasn't sure. Maybe with me, maybe with Lucy, maybe both of us. His logic made no sense. But he called her every name in the book, screamed at her, backed her into a corner until she tried to leave, and then he shoved her. She stumbled over their coffee table, fell hard, and hit her lower back. Lucy told me later the bruise was massive, dark purple, and ugly. And Sarah, she just kept apologizing for him, saying, "He didn't mean it, he's just stressed." That's when something in me snapped. See, I'm not a fighter. I'm a big guy, sure, 6'2", broad shoulders, but I've never thrown a punch in my life. Still, that night, I wanted nothing more than to drive to Jay's place and make him regret breathing. But instead of swinging fists, my brain started plotting. Because while I'm not violent, I am resourceful. At the time, I worked part-time in the administration building at the college. My job wasn't glamorous, filing paperwork, answering phones, helping students figure out where their classes were. But here's the thing. I had access. I could see anyone's student records, schedules, fees, ID numbers, everything. And it just so happened Jay was also a student there. I didn't act right away. I waited. I wanted to do this smart. See, the deadline to drop or add classes without penalty was coming up, a single day every semester where schedules could still be changed freely. After that, everything locked in. So I looked him up. There it was. His student ID, his schedule, every last detail. Storytelling. On the final day for class changes, I walked into work like it was any other morning, smiled at my supervisor, grabbed a stack of forms, made some small talk about the weather, just another student worker doing his thing. But inside, my heart was pounding so hard it felt like a drum solo in my chest. My palms were sweaty, my brain whispering, "You sure about this? Once you do it, there's no going back." But then I pictured Sarah's tear-stained face, the bruise, her saying, "He didn't mean it." Yeah, I was sure. I picked up one of the old school enrollment phones. Back then, you had to call in to drop or add classes. There was no online system yet. So, using Jay's student ID and info, I dropped every single one of his classes. All of them. Then, because poetic justice tastes better with a side of chaos, I started adding new ones. Classes that all had extra course fees. Art supplies, lab fees, special materials, the kind of stuff that racks up fast. When I hung up the phone, my hands were trembling, half from adrenaline, half from the thrill of what I'd just done. Here's the kicker. Jay was a foreign student, which meant he had to stay enrolled full-time to keep his visa. No classes equals no student status equals big, big problems. I didn't tell anyone, not even Lucy, not even Sarah. If anyone found out, I'd lose my job, maybe worse. But deep down, I knew justice was in motion. The payoff. A few days later, Sarah called Lucy, still sounding anxious. She said she had to go to her Tuesday English class, the one she shared with Jay, and she was dreading it. When she came back that night, though, her tone was different. Excited, relieved, almost disbelieving. Apparently, when she walked into class, there was a new guy standing in the back. The seats were full. One too many students. The professor noticed immediately. He said, scanning the room. "Looks like we've got more people than on my roster." He started calling names, one by one, and when he got to Jay's name, nothing. Jay raised his hand. He said, "I'm here." The professor frowned. Checked the list again. "Sorry, you're not on the roster." Jay's face went pale. He tried arguing, said there must be a mistake, said he was enrolled, said he'd been there all semester. But the professor just shook his head. "Not according to the system. You'll have to check with administration." Sarah told us later that was the last time she ever saw him in class. No angry texts, no awkward hallway encounters, nothing. Just gone. Weeks went by. Lucy and I eventually drifted apart. Life, school, all that. But curiosity got the better of me one day, and I looked up Jay's records again. All those expensive, fee-heavy classes I'd added? Gone. But he didn't have any other classes on file either. Nothing. No schedule, no registration, just an empty record. Was he kicked out? Deported? Dropped out? I'll never know for sure. But I like to think he learned that actions, especially violent ones, have consequences. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think, did I go too far? Maybe. But then I'd remember Sarah's voice breaking over the phone that night. The bruise. The fear. And I'd remind myself, some people only learn when life hits them harder than they hit others. Justice doesn't always wear a cape or carry a badge. Sometimes it works quietly, through a kid in the admin office with a good memory and a strong sense of right and wrong. And honestly, I can live with that. Mess with me? Fine. Mess with my friends? Good luck with your education. Storytelling. If this story made you smile, or maybe reminded you that karma has excellent timing, go ahead and hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe, because there are a lot more stories where this came from. Until next time, stay kind and stay clever.